disappears. I gotta retype everything. So we are officially live, ladies and gentlemen. Hello.
Oh.
And while we are live, I will go ahead and continue to look at crispy player props that I was not looking at earlier. Is there any odds boosters out right now I can take? Any fun ones? Roy McIlroy, top 5 BMW PGA Championship. Let's go.
Run it.
Was plus 163. It's boosted up to 190 right now. Let's go.
Okay. So we got
John Rahm wins BMW PGA Championship. Was plus 900. Now it's plus 1100. What?
John Rahm skis.
Talk about a boost. The Rams to win the NFC West was plus 125. Boosted to 150. Let's go.
Let's go.
Still wouldn't make the bet, but I mean, you know. If I had to bet on that division, I would bet on the Rams, but that is a pretty tough division to bet on considering it's only plus 150.
Agreed.
Same with the Chiefs. They're plus 180, or I can get them at plus 200 to win the AFC West, but again, tough division to play football in.
I got faith in the Chiefs, but I watch a lot of Chiefs because your sister.
I do too, but I mean, we're talking about the same division that has the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Chargers. The Chargers are my pick. I think the Chargers are about to go haywire, but I could see. I mean, I don't think the Broncos are going to be that far. I feel like that's more of just a wishful thinking thing with Russ joining the Broncos. I feel like
the Broncos are the worst team in the division.
Yes, I do too. Yeah, 100%. I don't think they're a terrible football team, but I don't know if Russ is.
I still think they're a playoff team.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
I just think the difference between Russ and Drew Lock is going to be big enough to where guys like Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are going to absolutely go off this year.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Jerry Jeudy is going to be a huge breakout player.
Yeah, Jeudy.
Yeah, Jude. What's the Joe Flacco passing totals?
Oh, that's an interesting thing. Let's take the under there. What's Joe Flacco's over-under on interceptions?
Over 7.5. I'm pounding the over. Passing yards. I can get Joe Flacco. Okay. Joe Flacco is over-unders 230.5 passing.
That's the best time to go to the dentist.
230.
230. I'm just not ready to get off the Chiefs yet.
No, I'm not. That's not me saying the Chiefs are bad. I don't think the Chiefs are bad. I just think that
I think the Chargers are really, really good.
I think the Chargers are going to be. This is going to be their year. I mean, obviously, I still think the Chiefs will make the playoffs, but I think the Chargers will be fire.
They are very, very good.
There's not a player prop I like in this game, in this Jets-Ravens game. Ew. Like the tough week 1 player prop game.
They have, I wonder what, is there any J.K. Dobbins numbers?
I did not see any J.K. Dobbins, no. Yeah. The only ones they had was Jets running backs. They had Michael Carter and Breece Hall.
They haven't announced if he's playing yet.
And they had Michael Carter and Breece Hall both around 35. They were both about even.
Makes sense. They're going to be starting James Robinson week 1 fantasy.
Boy, hey, he's going to get you some points. He'll score a tutty.
He's projected 3.8, baby.
What can I get? Baker Mayfield. Okay, this is an interesting one. Baker Mayfield at least 301 yards at plus 365.
Sign me up right now.
Plus 365?
Sign me
for a 300-yard Baker game on Cleveland?
Baker's going off this year, but definitely, you know how Baker is. Spike games, that's right up his alley.
In Carolina, he's about to be balling out at his new home. He's going to get 300.
Apparently, he's too.
CMC's back, too? Okay, we can't talk too much because I feel like we're going to start going into stuff. We need to talk more like this on the podcast.
I'm in.
Well, Kenny, you know what happened. Christian McCaffrey's coming back from an eight-week injury last week.
If you remember Baker Mayfield when he was in college, if you analyze the way he played after 4 p.m. on a Sunday, it looks like this could be the ideal game to see him get some positive production.
I feel like now that the league is back, it's going to be a little bit easier to do. I feel like most of the stuff we talked about so far has been Braves on the podcast side of things, and we can't really venture outside of Braves, so we kind of force ourselves to talk about Braves for 40 minutes. So we have to kind of overanalyze. I'm sorry to tell you, I am not going to sit here and overanalyze the Denver Broncos Seattle Seahawks game. It is going to be what I know from my mind, and that is going to be it.
My college picks, I literally have like 3 or 4 different picks where I put asterisks and put next to it, don't overthink this. Not because of the podcast, but because of the bets.
Because of the bets. There's always those moments. I have a couple juicy ones I am very excited to talk about in this podcast, see your opinion. I have all mine listed out so we don't go through the same process we did last week where we listed off 87 games and then we bet on 5 of them.
What do you have UGA?
I don't have a line for UGA. I couldn't find one.
Okay, me either. I'm saying, like, do you have any, like, what do you have talking wise for UGA?
I have 7 notes. Nothing long.
I have some notes as well.
I also have some Falcons notes. I don't know if you have any down, but I figure since week 1 of the NFL season's happening.
I don't have any Falcons notes, but I would say I can go off the dome.
Yes, I do have some questions I'm going to bring up for you. Obviously, I didn't research the questions. I'm sure you don't have to research the questions. It's just Falcons questions. Offensive line against Falcons pass or against Saints pass rush type stuff like that.
Yeah, I've got a decent amount of UGA notes. I don't know did you see Kirby's post game interview? Well, not post game interview, but interview when he got back to Athens.
No, I didn't see it.
It's like his post film, like he watched film on the game and then did an interview after. So it was like his actual how did he think the team performed. I took some interesting notes from that.
Okay. So what's our thing? Obviously, we're gonna start off with Braves, right? Like always. Do you want to do NFL and go all the way to the NFL, then go to college, or do you want to do college NFL? I was gonna say betting for the end. So when I'm covering the NFL early on, I'm not gonna talk about my betting, and then at the last part of the podcast, that's when I was gonna get into my NFL bets and college bets.
What do you have to talk about the NFL that's not betting?
What is it?
Like, do you have like some talking points for the NFL, not non-betting wise?
No, just key games.
Okay.
But I don't have any notes on them. It's just I have all the games I'm excited about.
Let's do this. Let's do the intro. I don't have any Braves notes.
I have some.
So let's do the intro, and then you go Braves. And then I'll start UGA. And then after we do Braves and UGA, we'll go straight into betting. We can go NFL first or college first.
Okay, what about Falcons? Do you want to do You want to do Braves? You want to go Braves, UGA with you, and then Falcons back with me, and then betting?
Yeah, and then we'll just go straight into. I guess we'll go straight into NFL, and we'll just cover games, and then we'll go straight into our bets.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that way we kind of hand it off back forth a little bit.
That works perfect. So we'll go. Right, we'll do intro, Braves, Georgia, Falcons, NFL, betting. Easy.
It's episode 13.
13. This is unlucky number 13.
Heck yeah.
And I am ready when you are, Mr. Kenneth.
All right, one sec. It's a nice heavy pasta for dinner, so I'm feeling nice and relaxed right now.
Nice.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1, and we are live.
Welcome in, everyone, to episode 13 of the Peach State Tailgate Sports Podcast. I am Kenny Cochran, joined, as always, by my amazing co-host, Mr. Jake Hill.
Hoorah!
We're back at y'all on back-to-back days. We talked dogs yesterday, our initial reactions from the Oregon game, the week 1 matchup. We talked a little SEC ball. We talked a little bit of Braves and kind of where we stood. And now we're going to get into a little bit more. We're going to do a little Braves talk, a little UGA Sanford preview. We're going to do a little NFL week 1 preview. And I know Jake and I are chomping at the bit to get to it, so I don't want to waste any more time. Thank y'all so much for listening. Be sure you check us out on all the socials like we tell you every single time, and I am pumped to get talking some more ball.
Hell yeah, Kenny. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and lead this thing off like I'm Ronald Acuna. We're going to start this off like we do every episode, giving a little bit of Braves talk. Right now, it happened. The Braves are tied for the lead in the NL East. Timestamp, 9:15 p.m. on September 7th. It is Wednesday night for people listening during the week. And the Braves and Mets have already both played their games today. They both won. The Mets beat the Pirates today, and the Braves beat the Athletics. One thing of note, the Mets do hold the tiebreaker over the Braves right now. There's no game 163 this year, so if you go into the end of the season with a tie, it goes into a tiebreaker thing, and right now the Mets have that over the Braves. There's only one occurrence that can happen that will change that, and that is if the Braves happen to sweep the Mets at the end of the year and we are still tied. That is the only way the Braves will take the tiebreaker over the Mets. It's not a very likely thing to happen because the Mets are still a tough ball team. We would rather just win the division outright than have to run into that situation of having to sweep them at the end of the year. And it's kind of a rare occurrence. Like, what are the odds that we end up playing the Mets, going to that series 3 games back and then sweeping them and tying? It's not really a very, likely situation, but it is definitely a situation to look at. One note, I have a couple injury notes I wanted to cover beforehand. This is kind of a random one that just came out today. Oscar Ynoa underwent surgery to reconstruct his ulnar. Is it ulnar or ulnar? Ulnar. You're more of a medical guy than me.
I think it's ulnar.
Ulnar collateral ligament in right arm. So he's having complete right arm construction. Hopefully it's going to help him throw the baseball in the strike zone a little bit more effectively than what we've seen from Mr. Ynoa besides early on in the 2021 season before he punched the Gatorade cooler and broke his hand. So we're rooting for Oscar. Obviously, he's a guy that Braves fans have kind of forgotten about. I'll even admit myself, he's kind of a guy that has went to the back of my mind. Even with the success we had to see, from him last year, obviously the guy was hitting tanks, and now the DH is kind of a thing in the National League. He's not as much fun to watch anymore. My last little Braves note I have, Ozzy Albies is coming back soon, and it's another situation where you're running into the situation right now with Vaughn Grissom where he came up and has been so good for the Atlanta Braves that we're almost putting Ozzy on the back burner. We are legit returning a top 5 second baseman in baseball. The Atlanta Braves, who are already one of the best teams in baseball, are about to get a fringe star player back with Ozzy Albies, a guy that plays solid defense, a guy that has a consistent bat. I know he struggled this year to start the year, but we know what Ozzy is. Ozzy has been in the league long enough, and he has proven enough for us to know that he is still a good baseball player. I want to say that his early season stuff, I think he was already dealing with the injury early on. They never said anything about it. I don't know if that's a true statement, but we saw an Ozzy early on in the season that was not an Ozzy we've ever seen before, and it just so happens that he had a non-contact break in his foot, so I kind of feel like he might have already had a little damage there, and that's something that was bothering him. He was also slow this year, which is kind of weird because Ozzy's usually a pretty quick guy, and we didn't really see that from Ozzy early on, so I'm really excited to see him get back on the field. Kenny, I'm sure you are as well. We saw videos the other day of, I want to say it was Eric Young out in left field working with both Vaughn Grissom and William Contreras out in left field, which is a very encouraging thing to see because obviously Marcell has been getting playing time. And I'm not going to knock Marcell too hard right now because Marcell has been swinging a hot bat. Funny enough, Marcell has actually been hitting the ball pretty decent since he had about 2 weeks off. And obviously, Robbie Grossman has came back down to earth. You throw Ozzy at the second base spot and you can throw Vaughn out in left field. Your lineup only gets deeper. 1 through 9, you're looking at a lot of pop. You're looking at some great contact bats that can drive and runs. It's going to be a ton of fun to watch when Ozzy gets back on the field.
Yeah, and I do want to say, if you listen to this podcast, we've always loved Marcell Ozuna here.
I honestly feel
we've never talked bad about him.
We haven't, and I feel like there's a little bit of sarcasm coming from you right here, Kenny. But I do want to say, among Atlanta Braves fans, I feel like Kenny and I probably had some of the longest leashes with Mr. Ozuna than anybody we were two people that stuck with Marcel all the way up until the DUI situation. And to be honest, I do think charges were all dropped, thankfully, because he did not take he did not do the breathalyzer, and he did pass the little test you do. I don't know. I've never been pulled over for a DUI. I can't think of what the name is of it, but he did pass those. So all the charges are dropped. So I mean, was he drunk? I don't know. He rolled down the window. He said, "I am Marcelo Zuna from Braves." So
From the Braves.
I think that got him arrested alone, me personally, but.
Yeah, you don't want to advertise your Marcelo Zuna from the Braves in the Atlanta area, buddy. Sorry.
Now when you're hitting 210 and playing terrible defense in the outfield when you get the chance to play out there.
Not a good look.
But it is a positive note to see that, I guess he's being more accepted by the team. I've been watching some of the games. Obviously on the bench, he's still an upbeat guy. He's still showing emotion whenever the young cats are driving in runs, doing their thing. He's on the bench supporting them. I saw the other day he had a pretty nice RBI single, and he looked to the bench, and Austin Riley was just fired up for him. It was good to see that Marcelo Zuna is still a guy that's accepted in the clubhouse, and he's just not like a complete negative in that aspect of the game.
Well, and obviously, as fans of the team, you want the team to be morally competent. You don't want to have some absolute menaces to society in the dugout or on the sidelines for football. But at the end of the day, this is sports, man. And the way sports work is if you have some kind of off-field issues going on, but then you produce on the field, everyone's going to forget about it.
Yes, that is very true. And it's funny you mentioned that you don't want to have those guys on the bench because we have a guy on the Atlanta Braves that never gets playing time, but takes up a roster spot just because of his antics on the bench. And his name is Guillermo Heredia. Dude has kept a job on the roster all year long, other than like a week whenever he got set down. And I don't even think he ever went down. I think he stuck with the taxi squad throughout the week. I think it was whenever Darno had got hurt and they brought up Chadwick Trump because they didn't want to put Darno on the IL. So instead of putting Darno on the IL, they put Guillermo down, but he stayed with the team throughout the week just to send Trump back down. Or I think Trump got hurt, but the whole situation where Guillermo's been here the whole year and he's still doing Guillermo things. He's slashing swords, hyping up everybody. Obviously, as a fan, I don't mind that roster spot being taken up by a guy like that because every team needs it, especially this Braves team with all this youth. You go into the dugout as a 21-year-old kid and you see a 6-7 year veteran in there just pumped up for you, so excited for every little moment you do. And I'm sure there can't be a better feeling for a younger person.
Absolutely. He's just such a morale booster.
Well, Kenny, that's my wrap up for the Braves talk. Obviously, we have a couple more weeks of regular season. Obviously, we're tied for the NL East lead. So, just continue watching those Braves games, continue showing your support. Obviously, the Braves are hot. We had a little slip up against the Cardinals about a week ago, but other than that, the Braves are still maintaining that crazy pace that we're at. I want to say that right now we are projected to win 101 games, which is something that the Braves have not done in a very long time. And it's kind of funny that the year that we're going to do that is the year we're in like a really, really close division race after we've won it 4 years in a row.
I want to say there's 25 games left in the season, in the regular season after today. So we need to go, we need to win, 14 of those to hit 100, which is, if the Braves can kind of maintain what they've been doing lately, I don't see a reason why we could not do that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, is that it for Braves?
Yeah, that's it for me, man.
All right, well, let's move on to a little dog talk. I know we talked a lot of dogs yesterday. We don't have as much today, but I wanted to do a little bit of follow-up on what we kind of talked about. Yesterday, we broke down the Oregon game and talked about our thoughts from it. And earlier this morning, Kirby had a press conference where he talked about a little bit of preview for the Sanford game. We got Sanford this week. And he talked about kind of his initial reactions on the field versus after he sat down and watched the film from the Oregon game. So there were a couple notes I wanted to take. Before I hop into that, I will say, as of where we stand right now, post-Oregon, UGA is currently the number 2 ranked team in the country. And according to the computer, UGA has a 76.8% chance to make the college football playoff and a 25.6% chance to win the national championship. We're also projected, according to the computer, to win 11.7 games this year. Little caveat to that, guys, that means absolutely nothing. But just a couple interesting points to throw out there. So I talked about the Oregon film and how Kirby had a little presser to talk about what he thought. So I had a couple notes for that. He had a lot to say after watching the film from the Oregon game. He praised a lot of the young guys while giving some pretty constructive criticism on how the team as a whole can improve. He kept saying we need to go to the doctor, go to the doctor. When if you don't speak Kirby smart language, it means we need to fix our mistakes. He's kind of explained that in the past. So when he says we need to go to the doctor here, this guy needs to go see the doctor, he's saying we just need to address a couple issues. His biggest point of emphasis that the team needed to go to the doctor for was the linebacker group. Specifically the in-game play calling and on-field adjustments. As you guys probably know if you're football fans, your Mike linebacker is the quarterback of the defense. Typically, he's the captain. He's making the play calls. He's looking how the offense is lined up, taking the call from the sidelines, and then making on-field adjustments pre-snap to kind of adjust to where the offense is and how they're lined up. And he mentioned something that I thought was pretty interesting. As a guy that played football my entire life, I heard it a lot. And it's pretty cool to hear a guy like Kirby Smart say it. He said you'd rather have guys being loud and wrong on the field than quiet and right. And I think that's a pretty interesting point here because he kept talking about the confidence level of these young linebackers. Obviously, we talked about JDJ and Smell Munden, how these guys really stepped in and played a pivotal role in that game. And we expected to see a little bit more from them, but the offensive scheme just didn't really line up. So that's really good to hear coming from Kirby that he's happy with their confidence and their overall, ability in calling in-game adjustments. But he wants them to get a little bit better about correcting those little things and making sure they put the defense in the right position. So that's kind of it as far as Kirby. What he said overall, he had mentioned he's really pleased with the offensive line. He's really pleased with the offense as a whole. Obviously, he talked about Stetson. We all know Stetson balled out, but I thought that was pretty interesting because Jake, you mentioned wanting to see a little bit more from the linebackers, and that's something Kirby said in the presser this morning.
Yeah, that is very interesting. And, we're talking about a Georgia team that lost, I want to say, our three linebackers, and they all went in the top 4 rounds of the NFL draft this past year. So obviously JDJ and Smell Munden, they're two guys that don't have that much experience because we were so deep at that position last year. And I know we were talking about it yesterday. This is something that's going to be fixed with more experience. And this is going to be a perfect game we're going to against Samford where little stuff like that can get so cleaned up because you're not at such a high leverage situation. Like these are guys that are going to get valuable reps in this game. I know that this game is going to be a complete blowout. It's not going to be a very competitive game, but this is one of those games that you love to see for your younger players. You want them to be on the field. You want them to take these reps against college football teams, obviously. And you want them to improve off what they did last week. Like I just mentioned as fans, this is not a big game, but as a young player, every single rep matters. And especially when you're not going up against your own team in practice and you get to actually go into a live game in a live environment with the play clock on and all that fun stuff, it definitely matters a ton that we're going to get to see these two guys go out and, play this weekend against Samford. I do want to mention it's a 4 p.m. Eastern time game for the fans out there that are looking to watch. So it's an interesting time slot. It kind of lines up pretty bad with some of the other games that are going on that I'm really excited to see. But I will definitely be the last button on my remote will be absolutely obliterated. If it wasn't,
it's not going to work come Saturday night.
Yeah, it's not going to work. So the good thing is Baylor BYU. I'm not going to be lasting off of that game. It's just going to be that game the whole night. So at that point, I'm not going to need it. But next Saturday, I will definitely have a new remote coming in through the mail. Thank you, Amazon.
100%. And that brings us in perfectly to a little Samford preview. Obviously, Jake hit it. It's a 4 p.m. Eastern game. The funny thing about this is you literally cannot find a line for this game anywhere. I was able to find one, and it was through Win Casino. Is the only number I could get. So shout out Win Casino. Georgia's a 52-point favorite according to them. So I will say, if you use Win Casino for any of your sports booking, and you're taking this game, you are a maniac.
Hammer it.
You're a psychopath. I don't care who it is. 52 points, man. The dogs by 90 every week, but 52, that is nuts, and that's why this game is not going to be on FanDuel. It's not going to be anywhere you're looking. Really interesting thing here that I actually did not know prior to doing a little bit of research on this Samford ball team. So obviously we all know Kirby graduated from UGA, played defensive back, and immediately joined the coaching staff as a graduate assistant there. But his first official coaching job out of college was the defensive backs coach at Valdosta State in the year 2000. While Kirby was hired as the defensive back coach of Valdosta State, their head coach was Mr. Chris Hatcher, who is now the head coach at Samford.
That is electric. I did not know that. That is awesome.
So, obviously, Kirby's super familiar with this guy, knows his coaching style. He had nothing but praises to sing about this guy in the presser today. But one thing I will say, and I know Kirby knows this too, and he mentioned it a couple times, this dude loves to throw the football. This Samford team threw the ball very effectively last week, 24 times versus Kennesaw State for 290 yards and 4 touchdowns. Don't forget, y'all, this is the same Samford team that hung 52 points on Florida last year.
I forgot about that. You are right. Didn't Florida score 70?
Yeah, final score 70-52. This Samford team, dude, what's the number? They threw the ball 53 times versus Florida and hanging 52 points, 400 yards, and 3 touchdowns through the year.
Coach Hatch is an absolute legend, I must say. I don't know what his record is against Hatch assistants, but
yeah.
But good luck to Coach Hatch. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, good luck, Coach Hatch. We love you, and thank you for teaching Kirby anything you did that brought us here, because he got us a national championship, and he's gonna come out here and rout your boys. But it'll be a good game to watch. It'll be a good stat game for old Stitt. Go out there and hopefully work up those Heisman numbers again. But that's pretty much it for me, man. I'm super excited for this game for a couple reasons, but like Jake already mentioned it's a developmental game. We get to see some of the young guys get more reps and hopefully just work their way into more of a pivotal role on the defensive side of the ball, and then offense, we expect them to come out there and just run up and down the field, and hopefully throw up and down the field, run up the numbers a little bit. So it's cool that this is a team that likes to throw the ball, because we're going to see some younger secondary guys get some more action than we saw last week.
Yeah, and I do have a couple things noted down that I'm excited for. Number one being Mr. Carson Beck. I know we talk about Stetson Bennett wanting to rack up some numbers. I'm sure he's going to be able to do that, but he's not going to make it much longer than a quarter or two. So Carson Beck is going to get plenty of snaps in this game. And Georgia fans, this is a guy that has a legit shot at being our starting quarterback next season. He's a guy that is going to his third year at UGA, sitting on the bench. He is not leaving. He is going to go into next season, and he is going to fight for that starting job hard. I know we have the two young cats with Gunnar Stockton and Mr. Brock Vandergriff, but we know Kirby. We know how Kirby goes with his vets, and Carson Beck is a guy that has plenty of talent. He's a guy that has the most experience in the system. He's obviously the number 2 quarterback in the system. So he's a guy to watch for whenever you do get your chances of seeing him play, because he has a legitimate chance to be the starting quarterback next season. A couple other things I have mentioned. I on the defensive side of the ball, I do look to keep on seeing big impact games from these freshman talents with guys like Michael Williams, Malachi Starks, and Xavier Sori. Those are 3 guys to me. Obviously, Malachi Starks last week had an absolute hell of a game. Michael Williams has been getting a ton of praise. But Xavier Sori is a guy that I look at, and I'm pretty high on this kid. I think this kid, with more repetition, could become a good player on this Georgia defense. Obviously, he's a little bit farther down the depth chart than you'd like to see, but he was a guy that, I'm really excited with the talent he has to catch him on the field. Another guy that I am very, very excited to see more of, and we did get to see him a little bit last week against Oregon, is Oscar Delp. I know whenever he came to Georgia, everybody was saying he's kind of like Brock Bowers 2.0 with how he plays. And I feel like getting 2 full quarters of him on the field, maybe Georgia doesn't just try to drive the ball on the ground every single play with Mr. Branson Robinson just running through fools' faces. Maybe we might see Oscar Delp have a great game this weekend against Samford. Also, Arik Gilbert and Tyke Smith. Those are 2 guys that we saw last week in very limited playing time against Oregon. They did not come in until the second half, whenever the game was already out of hand. Obviously, Tyke Smith is a guy that's recovering from, I want to say, a torn ACL last season. And, I think Kirby had some notes on him saying that they're impressed with how his progress is coming along. He's a guy that, obviously, the West Virginia transfer that everybody was so excited for. I want to say plenty of national things had him rated as a top 10 safety in college football going into the season. So he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on in this game to see how much playtime he can get. And Arik Gilbert, he's kind of a strange case. He's another guy we didn't see till later in the game. And obviously, going into the season, everybody thought that he was going to be tight end number 2 behind Brock Bowers, and he was going to drop Darnell Washington down to 3. Obviously, right now, that's not the case, because Darnell Washington is an absolute stud. But Reed Gilbert's definitely a guy I want to keep my eyes on to see what he can do in the second half with Carson Beck throwing him the ball. Last thing, wide receiver Savon Clark. He's a guy I'm pretty high on too, and obviously another guy that's farther down the depth chart. Whenever you get into these games and you get to see guys play, he's a guy I want to see get a little bit more action than we got to see out of him last week. I want to say he had one catch last week for like 8 yards. I could see him putting together a nice little game this week against Sanford.
I like that a lot, and you mentioned him there. I'm really curious to see if we get a little bit more burn out of Eric Gilbert, a guy like that coming in there. Because I don't know if you saw all the NFL draft boards. I mean, this dude is still popping up in the bottom first round.
I believe it.
So I want to see this guy play a little bit more and I know he had a little bit of a car accident injury deal, and that could have contributed to why we didn't see him play too much against Oregon. So I'm hoping that a guy like that can come in and get some burn against this Sanford team.
Definitely. So that brings us to, are you done on Georgia, Kenny? You good on Georgia?
Yeah, that's it for me.
All right, go Dogs. I think that brings us into a good talking point right now because it is week 1 coming up in the NFL. It starts tomorrow, YouTube side of things, and it starts today on the podcast side of things. But we're going to focus on Sunday first before we get into the whole NFL thing, because that is when our beloved Atlanta Falcons face off against the New Orleans Saints at home at 1 p.m. Eastern. Obviously, we're excited for this Falcons team. We're not expecting too much from this Falcons team. There's not a ton of talent all over the field, but there is enough talent where I think the Falcons can make. Oh, excuse me. I think the Falcons can make things pretty interesting. I have a couple notes to cover, Kenny, but do you have anything that you want to lead off? Any Falcon stuff you would like to say before I get going?
I just wanted to touch on the line for this game. Saints are favored by 5.5. I feel like that's a pretty favorable line for the Falcons. 5.5. I probably would have expected to see a little bit, see a little bit more there. So take that as you may. The over/under is also set at 42.5, which I feel like is a little bit low for this game. So those are just a couple. Take it at face value, however you want to look at that. But for me, those are just a couple things that kind of threw me off when I originally looked at this line.
Yeah, I agree completely. I looked at the line. I looked at the spread. I do think, before we get too far into betting things, because this is not going to be one I mentioned later on, me personally, this is a game I'm going to stay away from. I'm sorry, Falcons, but I don't want to put my money in you. But if I was leaning one way, I would definitely go with the Falcons. And I do, now that you mentioned the over-under, I am kind of tempted to take the over, because I am a little bit higher on this Falcons offense than I feel like most people are. I feel like the Falcons definitely have the ability to put some points up. But there are a couple things I am curious about. Number one, Drake London is limited in practice this week. All the reports are saying that we'll learn more on Saturday. That is obviously a big blow for the Atlanta Falcons if he does not play, because he is currently listed as wide receiver number 1 on the depth chart. I think he's still dealing with the leg injury that he had in week 1 of the preseason. Obviously, Drake London. I'm tripping right now. I'm sorry. Drake London is a guy that can go on. He's a big body guy. And the limited time we saw him play, very limited time we saw him play in the preseason, he looked good. But he's a guy the Falcons definitely need on the field. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Drake London. I mean, we got to see one catch from him in the preseason game, and it was flashy and it looked nice. So yeah, we need this guy to get healthy. They've been a little patient with him and trying to get him pretty healthy coming into the season. So I'm hoping that he'll be good to go.
Yeah, and one thing I want to note for Falcons fans, this is one of those situations where you don't risk your future for one game or a preseason or anything like that. So obviously the Falcons are going to continue to be patient with Drake London. If they're not 100% sure he can go, I'm sure there's a pretty solid chance that he won't. But I think the signs are looking pretty positive that we're going to see him. Obviously, Falcons fans want to see him because, we had a unicorn with Kyle Pitts last year. And out of all the wide receivers in this past NFL draft, I feel like the most likely to be another unicorn was Drake London. I know there's guys that are probably above him in skill set wise, but Drake London's a big body guy, can run, can catch, he can pretty much do it all. So obviously we're really excited to see him play. I have a couple more notes. Can the Falcons secondary limit Jameis Winston and the Saints wide receivers? Obviously, Michael Thomas is a guy that might be coming back. I'm pretty sure he's gonna be a game time decision. He had injured his hamstring this year during training camp. Obviously, he's still coming back from that ankle issue he had last year as well. But let's not forget, they added Jarvis Landry and Chris Olave from Ohio State. So they still have plenty of weapons. Alvin Kamara is there. I want to say Jameis Winston's going to be full go to start the year. So, the Saints offense still looks like they have plenty of weapons. And the Falcons secondary, obviously, we went out and added Casey Hayward this year. AJ Terrell's an absolute stud. We have two young safeties with Richie Grant and Jalen Hawkins. And then the nickel corner spot, I'm kind of curious to see what they do there because obviously Jarvis Landry's a slot guy and most of his reps are going to be taken in that slot. And we have a couple guys. The depth chart has D. Alford listed as the fifth corner, which is kind of weird to me because he was the guy in preseason that was starting majority of those games. They have Mike Ford and Darren Hall listed above them, but I am curious to see if D. Alford's a guy that we see first play out there on the field, manned up on Jarvis Landry. That is what I would prefer to see. I'm very high on D. Alford. I know I want to say he was out of like the Canadian Football League or something when we signed him. So he's actually an interesting case, but everything I saw from him in the preseason, I'm very impressed with this kid. I can't wait to watch him play.
Yeah, no, D. Alford, that's the guy when you and I watched that preseason game. He's a guy that I think really impressed us both. So I definitely look to see him get in the game a little bit more than a lot of people are expecting.
Yeah, I have a couple notes too. Offensive line. Obviously, Jalen Mayfield got put on the IR to start the season. Thank you. Whatever happened, he should have been cut, but he got put on the IR. So Elijah Wilkerson is going to be taking over that left guard spot to start the year. And Drew Dalman beat out Matt Hennessy for the starting center spot on the first depth chart. So that is another interesting case. He's a guy that I liked over Hennessy, so I'm really happy to see them make that move. I was not really impressed with what I saw from Hennessy last year. He was rated as, I want to say, a bottom 15 offensive lineman in the NFL, along with two other guys, Caleb McGarry and Matt Hennessy and Jalen Mayfield. So obviously a bottom 15 guy, you can't get too much worse than that. So let's hope that Drew Dalman comes out and he puts on a show at the center's position.
Yeah, that's something that I really wasn't too surprised about because you hit on it too with Hennessy and how do you remember the hype around Matt Hennessy in the Alex Mack days?
Yeah, because he was drafted. He was Alex Mack's backup, Alex Mack's last year with the Falcons, and everybody kept on saying, "Oh, they draft him. He's going to be the guy that takes over Mack," and he never met those expectations.
Everyone kept talking about how impressive he was in camp and how amazing he looked in practice, and then we get to see him play, and it's like, is this the same guy?
Exactly, and I want to note too that this is a Saints defensive line that features Marcus Davenport and Falcons killer Cameron Jordan. So, I mean, obviously those are guys that we're going to be looking more at Jake Matthews and Caleb McGarry on. But whenever you can get help anywhere on the offensive line, you need it, especially against the Saints team that has a really dynamic pass rush. And they also have a good secondary. Obviously, they lost Marcus Williams to free agency. I want to say that he's playing in Baltimore now with the Ravens, but they did go out and add Marcus May from the Jets in free agency, and they added Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. So Matthew's going home. Obviously, Tyrann Mathieu's one of the best safeties in football. Marcus May is also awesome. So this is going to be a tough game all the way around on the offensive side of the ball. I am curious to see what Mariota's play style can do against this defense because we've seen what Matt Ryan's play style is against this defense, and there's been plenty of times where, like I mentioned, Cameron Jordan seems like he is an absolute Falcons killer, and he just seems to get to Matt Ryan so many times whenever we play the Saints. So a little bit different at quarterback, a guy that can kind of escape the pocket, make plays on his feet, do all types of stuff. I'm hoping that he can open some plays downfield for this Falcons wide receiver group.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Mariota looks because obviously the dude, I think you can expect one of two things from Marcus Mariota. I think number one is he comes in there and he plays extremely average football. And number two is he comes in there and runs the ball all over the place. And by like week 9 or 10, they're trying their best to keep him out of a body bag because this dude puts his life on the line every single play.
Yes, he does. I am also very excited to see Mariota play. I don't have this in my betting thing, so I'm going to go ahead and mention it now. You can get, and I'm sorry to mention this because I don't never bet against the Falcons, but this is not me saying the Falcons will lose, but you can get Jameis Winston at over 226.5, and I feel like that is a pretty low total for what we've known Jameis to be able to put up whenever he's healthy on the field. He might throw 3 interceptions, but he's going to put up 300. So he's a guy that passes for a lot of yards. So keep your eye on that one. Mariota set at 218.5. I'm going to stay away from that completely. I'm not too confident in Marcus Mariota getting 218 passing yards, but things happen. That is my wrap up on the Falcons. Obviously, like I mentioned, we're really, really excited to see him play, but it's week 1. We don't have too many notes to really go off of besides preseason, and preseason, half the guys we're going to be watching didn't get too much play. So it is what it is.
All right, well, that leads us into the picks section of the podcast. A little bit of gambling talk, betting talk. We got one of two avenues we can explore. Jake, where would you like to go first? You want to go week 2 college football, or you want to go week 1 NFL?
Um, I think for me and you both, the college football part of things is a little bit more exciting. So how about we start off with a little bit of week 1 NFL? Is that cool with you?
Perfect. Sounds great to me. All
I'm
right, so
counting. Go ahead, Kenny. I'm stupid. I'm counting my picks right now. I'm trying to remember how many I had.
you're good. While you're counting up, let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and work us into the first game of the year. We got, if you're watching live on YouTube, tomorrow night. If you're listening to the podcast, it'll be tonight. Thursday night football, first game of the year, 8:20 kickoff. The Super Bowl favorite this year, Buffalo Bills, traveling to LA to take on the Super Bowl champions, the Los Angeles Rams. The Bills are favored by 2.5 here, giving it minus 134 on the money line. The over-under for this game is set at 51.5.
Yeah, and I want to mention week 1 of the NFL is an absolute banger this year. It does not disappoint. There are so many good games up and down the day. Like, I am so excited to get into this. And could you ask for a better game to start off college football than the Bills playing in Los Angeles against the Rams? Like, this is going to be so much fun to watch. We're talking about two of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the game with Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford. These are going to be two guys that can absolutely throw the ball all over the yard. We're looking at, a great wide receiver matchup too with Cooper Kupp and Stephon Diggs. Like, there's going to be so many high-level playmakers on the field on both sides of the ball, both teams, that this game is going to make up for, I'm assuming, one of the better football games we get throughout the whole season.
I agree 100%. Now, one thing I will say that kind of interests me about this game is you just mentioned it with Cooper Kupp, and obviously they bring in guys like Allen Robinson. They still got Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee at tight end. This Rams team is absolutely loaded in the weapons department, and the Buffalo Bills are going to be without Pro Bowl corner Tre'Davious White in Week 1.
That is a very, very big miss for them.
Now they do gain back both of their safeties. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer were both battling a couple injuries throughout the offseason, but they are good. They're going to be good to go for kickoff. So that's another thing to look at there.
Yeah, best safety tandem in the NFL, in my opinion.
100%.
I do want to mention, since we're in the pick section of this, I will go ahead and give my bets out. I know we had talked about this beforehand. I am on the Bills. I am on the Bills -2. I think, like we had mentioned, Bills are Super Bowl favorites right now, and I think they start off the season that way. I don't want to say there's going to be a Super Bowl hangover for the Rams because I still think the Rams are going to be a playoff team. I think they're going to be a great team. Wouldn't be surprised if they go 12-5. Like, I think this Rams team 13-4. This Rams team is going to be one of the top teams in the league. But I do think the Bills come out the season starting off with a bang. So I'm going to go Bills -2 at Los Angeles.
All right, I respect it. I do not have a bet on the line for this game. I try to get involved as much as I can, especially with the first game of the year. So my sole pick for this game, I have Dawson Knox over in receiving yards. He's set at 35.5 right here, so I'm taking the over. You can get a -113 odds. I like that a lot. Dawson Knox, if you're watching, just got paid on YouTube today. Signed a big contract extension, I believe, 5-year deal, somewhere in the $50 million range. So congrats to Dawson Knox. Dude's going to get paid. He wants to come out there and show out. He's been one of Josh Allen's favorite targets. So I feel really, really good about him going over the 35.5 there.
No, I agree. And I remember you told me that before we even got this podcast started. And I am going to follow your lead on that same thing. I do want to mention my first NFL bet of the season. I am a big fan of trying to get the first touchdown scorer bets because they hit big whenever you actually get them. And yeah, my first touchdown score to start the year, I'm putting this out to everybody. My first touchdown scorer bet of the year is Cam Akers with the Los Angeles Rams. This is a guy that I am high on. Obviously, he's on my fantasy team. Kenny was trying to pry him out on my fingers yesterday. We were talking, she was trying to work up a trade for him. And let's just say it fell through. It didn't work. I threw Tom Brady in, tried to get Matthew Stafford. I was trying to get Deebo Samuel, and I was throwing some straight up great trades together. But GM Kenny over there, he was not falling for it. So now he's gonna have James Robinson starting week 1. And I'm making a joke right now. James Robinson's gonna score 24 points in week 1 after I say this.
Oh God, you couldn't hope for anything less.
I also have a couple fun same game parlays I hit. One of them is Stephon Diggs, 100 plus receiving yards and 1 touchdown. I got that at plus 550. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's not something I'm super confident in hitting because obviously a 100-yard tutty game is an amazing game. Stephon Diggs is definitely one of the top tier wide receivers in the NFL, and he's a guy that can do it, but it's not going to be super, super easy whenever you have Jalen Ramsey breathing down your neck the whole game. So yeah, that's definitely going to be a tough thing. Obviously, with that, I'm also banking on Matthew. Well, I'm going to the other side of the football now. Banking on Matthew Stafford to also put together a big game. I had to throw a little bit of juice on this one. 295 passing yards. Cooper Kupp to get 125 receiving yards and 9 receptions. I'm a little bit nervous by this one, and it's lower odds, which is kind of interesting. This one is plus 393. I feel like this is a lot less likely to happen than my Stephon Diggs same game parlay. But, I like the juicy ones, and they were just sitting right there in a perfect little section, sitting all nice and pretty. It was the 2 same game parlays that were sitting there nice and beautiful. So I took them. I also have the over in this game, the over 52. Again, not what I'm super positive in, but come on, y'all. It's the first game of the NFL season. Let's put a little money. Let's get a little bit of money flowing through our veins. Hopefully we can win big tomorrow. But, if not, you at least you enjoyed a good football game, and it makes you have a little bit of a dog in the fight whenever you're watching a game like this.
It's always fun to have somebody to pull for.
That is it for me though on Thursday night. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
That's it for me as well. So I guess why don't we do this, Jake? Let's head in. Let's talk about the 1 o'clock hour for Sunday. We'll go try and go chronological order for time wise. Obviously, you get the 1 o'clock kickoffs, 4 o'clock kickoffs, and then the night game. So let's go ahead. You want to just go alternating? I throw out a pick, you throw out a pick. We'll see where we land.
Yeah. I'll try to go with that. I did not put time slots on my picks, but I'm going to try to pull up the Week 1 NFL schedule, so I will stick with you. Give me 1 sec, Kenny. Okay, let's roll with it.
All right, cool. So I'll go ahead and kick it off for the 1 o'clock hour. Sunday, opening Sunday NFL football. First game I'm looking at here is the Philadelphia Eagles at Detroit. I'm taking the Eagles right here at minus 3.5. I like that a lot.
Okay, I'm going to follow your lead right here. Besides, I do not have the minus 3.5. Is that what you said? Minus 3.5?
I got a minus 3.5.
You got the Eagles at minus 3.5 on Detroit? Let's go. Is that like a thing? I feel like I didn't see that, but
yeah. So I'm following FanDuel for my for all my betting lines, and then placing my bets on my bookie is what I use. So according to FanDuel right here, they still got them at 3.5. So Philadelphia Eagles minus 3.5 at minus 114 odds, minus 198 on the money line, and the over under set at 48.5 on this one.
Okay, so BetOnline has them at -4. That is actually one I did not note because I will definitely take that. I don't know how I didn't know that, but I do have an Eagles-Lions game, and I have a star by this one because I'm very high on this one. The total set at 48.5. I have the under on the total of 48.5. I feel like 48.5 is a lot of points in this football game, and I'm not the biggest sleeper on the Lions, but I don't know how much support the Lions are going to be able to provide in a point total like that. So I'm going with the under on the 48.5.
I love that. I like the under there. All right, let's go into why don't you rip off your next one here?
Okay, my next one I am rolling with. Sorry, I have to go back to my schedule right quick to make sure I'm giving you a 1 o'clock game. Yes, I am. I'm going to go with the Patriots plus 3.5 at Miami. That is one I am very, very happy to get at that number. Anything, whenever you're sitting around 3, you're sitting around 7, you always want to get the extra half if you're betting for the underdog. So, obviously, Bill Belichick's a guy that always seems like he plays the Dolphins pretty tough, and I don't expect anything different to start this season. So I'm going to roll with Patriots plus 3.5 at Miami.
I like that. I actually stayed away from that game, but if I were to have a dog in the fight, I would definitely lean Patriots, especially at the plus 3.5.
Okay, cool, Kenny. What you got next?
My next pick, I've got the Baltimore Ravens minus 7.5. Traveling to New York to take on the Jets, the Joe Flacco-led New York Jets. This was as big of a lock for me as I could find, especially when I hear Joe Flacco's a starter. I'm also looking here. I don't have a ticket on it right now, but I may see if this moves at all. It seems like it's leaning towards the downtrend. The over/under for this game set at 44.5. Man, this that looks really appealing to me for the over. I'm gonna see if that moves down a little bit.
Yeah, I am on that with you, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. I feel like you kind of covered that. Obviously, we're talking about a Joe Flacco-led team and one of the better teams in the NFL facing off. So obviously, we like Lamar. We think Lamar is going to absolutely torch this Jets defense. They have a ton of young talent, but I don't know if that young talent's going to quite translate this early on into the season. So I'm also on the Ravens. I'll go into my next one, and I'm thinking that you might be on this with me. I have the Carolina Panthers -1 versus the Cleveland Browns at home. So I'm rolling with the Panthers -1. Panthers favorites.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I actually took Panthers money line in this one.
Okay, cool.
I got Panthers money line at -120.
I respect
Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield revenge game. I'm a big Baker guy. Obviously, we're Georgia fans, so we got some fond memories of tearing him up in the Rose Bowl. But boy, did he give an exciting run in that game, and we saw some insane college football from that dude. So I like Baker. I think Baker's still got a lot to offer from a pro level. So this is really his chance, man. He needs to come out here for this Carolina Panthers team. Obviously, he's the starter. Sam Darnold's bad on some injuries, so he's got a little bit of a leash, I think, more than what people were expecting. But if this guy wants to make it in the league, he's going to have to show up and show out this year. And in a week 1 matchup against the team that just dumped him with the Cleveland Browns, give me Panthers money line all day long.
Yeah, I agree. And I wanted to make a quick note right here, a quick Braves note. The Braves are no longer tied for first place in the NL East. I did not know this, but apparently the Mets played a doubleheader today, and they beat the Pirates both games. So we are currently half a game out of first place. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, obviously, we would have liked for Pittsburgh to win one of those games because then we would have been in first. So, but yeah, they got swept in the doubleheader today. I think they had a rain delay on Monday, so the game got pushed back today. So. Well, we're not first no more, but we're pushing towards it. Hopefully Miami can come out and close us out. But to get off Braves talk, okay, back to these bets. And another 1 o'clock game I am going to go. This is an interesting one, and this is not one I love. But I have the over in the 49ers at Bears game at 40. I am curious to see what Trey Lance can do on that offense. And I'm going with Justin Fields, man. I don't think that they're going to beat the 49ers. Obviously, that offensive line did not improve this offseason, and they were absolutely terrible last year. But I feel like Justin Fields is a guy that can sneakily put up some points on you. You know, he's kind of a flashy player. He can kind of make plays with his legs. I think he's going to have a big improvement going to this year based off last year. And, you know, if he can make his own plays, that 40 number's low, man. That 40 number's very, very low. So you get one team, you know, that can get a little bit over 20, the other, you know, make up a little bit of ground for the other team. You know, you might be in a good situation with that pick.
No, I like that too. I actually put a note right here that said I like the over 40.5. I do not have a ticket on the over, but I do have 49ers -6.5 in this game.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think the 49ers are going to beat them. I don't think it's going to be, obviously, NFL is one of those weird things where you look at the spread, you're like, okay, this team is trash. This team is awesome. They're easily going to beat them by 7.5, right? And then you watch the game and they beat them by 7. So 6.5 is a nice, comfortable number to sit with the 49ers. Obviously, you can clown on the 49ers all you want to. The 49ers were a good football team last year. I do think Trey Lance is going to be a good NFL quarterback. Obviously, they still have Jimmy G around just in case things do go wrong. I don't know if he'll see the field this year. He restructured a contract for a 1-year deal. He'll be back this year. But I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Trey Lance comes out struggling that they might just pop Jimmy back on the field. I mean, we're talking about a guy that has not done anything but win his entire NFL career and is riding pine right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think the reason why I felt a little bit more comfortable taking the 6.5 with San Fran, I just kind of played the dumb role here and sat back and looked at it from a broad spectrum. And I have never seen a quarterback not thrive under Kyle Shanahan. So I think for Trey Lance to be given the keys, it means something. I know we haven't seen much from him, but in a week 1 matchup against a really struggling Bears team, 6.5 points, like you said, it's a lot better than 7.5. So I'm on it.
No, I respect that completely. Kenny, how about you give me your next one? Actually, no, right. yeah, give me back to back. Let's go back to back with you.
This is actually my final 1 o'clock game for the day. I have a ticket right here on this Jaguars Commanders game. The Jacksonville Jaguars are traveling to DC to take on the Washington Commanders. Commanders are -2.5 point favorite in this game. You can get the Commanders at minus 142 on the money line. The over-under set at 43.5 on this game. I actually went ahead and bought a half a point with the Jags. I'm taking the Jags +3 in this game. Looking for a Jags win and or 1 or 2 point cover. If they lose by a field goal, it'll be, no loss to me. I'll take the wash. So I bought a half a point, got them at +3 at minus 142.
Okay, perfect. Because I have 1 o'clock game left, and it's actually the same game. And I actually went with the Commanders -2.5 over the Jaguars. If this game was set at 3 or 3.5, I would have no idea what direction I would want to go. I would probably stay away from it. But I mean, I do respect the Jaguars. The Jaguars are another team we're looking at that could improve this year. Obviously, I want to say they have a pretty tough schedule this year ahead. So, it's not looking too hopeful for them. But, this is one of their more winnable games they have on this schedule. And I'm sure they know that, and they're going to go into this game wanting to start the season off 1-0.
Absolutely. And a guy like Trevor Lawrence, he needs to come in with a strong outing in this game. Obviously, he's got Doug Peterson, so he's everything's going in his favor with how this team is moving forward. So I'm looking forward to seeing this guy play and seeing these two teams match up. You never know what you're going to get out of Carson Wentz either. So this is an interesting one to look at. So I'm kind of pumped that we're on opposite ends of the spectrum here because that's going to make that a pretty interesting watch on Sunday.
Definitely. I do want to mention, now that we're done with the 1 o'clock games, every other game from here on out throughout the rest of the weekend is an absolute banger besides one. And it just so happens that one is one of the 425 games, and that is the only one that I have bet on among the 425 games. So I'll go ahead and get us kicked off in the ones in the 425 games. My only bet for the rest of Sunday night is the Tennessee Titans -5.5 versus the New York Giants at home. I absolutely love that pick. I'm not too high on the Giants. Obviously, this is kind of, make or break time for Daniel Jones. So I don't know what we're going to see out of him. I don't think that leash is very long at this point. I think this is a team that, Daniel Jones slips up a couple more times. They're going to be out there looking for a quarterback in the draft next year in the offseason, trying to get somebody in there. But this Titans team, man, I know there's so much talk about, okay, they lost weapons. They lost A.J. Brown to the Eagles. But I mean, they add in a guy like Treylon Burke. Obviously, Derrick Henry by himself is an absolute monster. Ryan Tannehill, he's a serviceable quarterback that can get the job done. I just think this Titans team is a lot better than this Giants team.
I like that a lot. I actually don't have a pick in this game. I decided to stay away, but I would lean Titans here. 5.5 is a pretty good number.
Yeah. That's the main reason I got him. It's less than a tud. Anything if it was at 6.5, I'd probably roll the same route. But I do like to get him at the 5.5. It's nice.
All right, 425, the only 425 pick I have, and this is a really, really perplexing line for me because I don't really know what in the world's going on here. But I'm looking at the Green Bay Packers traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. The Vikings are a 1.5 point underdog. This is kind of weird, man. So screw the 1.5 points. I'm on Packers money line -116.
Yeah, to me, when I watch the Packers and the Vikings play, it gives me so many Saints Falcons vibes that it doesn't matter how good one team is and how bad the other team is. They're going to play the absolute hell out of each other. This makes for one of the funnest or two of the funnest games of the season every single time these two teams match up. Obviously, the Packers are going to a season. It's going to be Rodgers' first game without Mr. Devontae Adams. But I mean, they still have weapons. Maybe not the best weapons in the world, but they have a couple guys out there that can go out and catch the ball. Obviously, they had mentioned that Allen Lazard is now wide receiver number 1 out there. And Kenny, I know that you're pretty high on him. I'm also pretty high on him as well. He's a big body guy that can go up and catch almost any ball thrown to him. And Rodgers is the type of guy to put the ball in any spot you need it. So Lazard, I'm sure he's going to have great success. We look at this Vikings offense. Man, this Vikings offense is so good, man. I almost hate it for Kirk Cousins because I feel like he gets so disrespected as quarterback play because he's not flashy. He just goes out and does what he has to do. Obviously, his guys like Dalvin Cook around him. He has Adam Thielen. He has Justin Jefferson. This offense is amazing. So this is going to make for a lot of fun in Minnesota this Sunday.
I couldn't have said it better. This game's always, always, always a banger. That's it for me for 425. You got anything else?
I'm good with 425. I'm clear through Sunday.
All right. I have the Sunday night game.
Oh.
This is a no-brainer for me. I did not even think about it. The Denver Broncos are traveling to Seattle. Russell Wilson going back home. That's Monday night. Excuse me. Monday night game. The Denver Broncos are traveling to Seattle in a revenge game. He's going back home to take on his former team. The Broncos are a 6.5-point favorite. Feed me that every single day and twice on Monday. I am on the Broncos minus 6.5.
You just broke it down so well because this is my biggest lock of the week. The Denver Broncos are going to beat the Seattle Seahawks by 20. Seattle is a bad football team. I am high on Drew Lock. Now, I'm not going to say high. I like Drew Lock. Don't get me wrong. But Drew Lock's not the starter, right? Geno Smith's the starter.
I believe Geno Smith is getting the starting nod.
This team is going to be so bad. DK Metcalf and Tyler did not look great in the preseason.
So bad.
Obviously, they got a guy like Noah Fonten who I like, but he's not gonna change what's gonna happen. We're talking about a Russell Wilson led team that has Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton on the outside. This team is going to be able to put up numbers, especially against the Seattle defense, who is already depleted. I am also very excited to watch this football game. I don't think it's going to be a particularly good football game, but Russ is going to cook like Russ cooks, and Broncos country. Let's ride.
Let's ride, dude. Couldn't have said it better myself. As we are speaking right now, I am placing a live bet.
Live bet alert.
I just saw this one creep across my eyes, creep across my vision. I'm headed back to the Saints at the Falcons. Falcons team total set at 18 points. I'm taking the over there.
I love it. I think the Falcons are looking at a solid 21-24, somewhere in that range this week against the Saints. We talked about with the Vikings and Green Bay, two teams that are absolutely a slugfest every time they play. It doesn't matter what team is better. It doesn't matter how better the other team is. Obviously, I don't think the Saints are too much better than the Atlanta Falcons. Me personally, I'll be completely honest with you. I think the Falcons are a little bit better than what people are getting credit for because I've seen guys like Zacchaeus play. I've seen guys like Cordero play. Obviously, we talk about Damian Williams and Tyler Algier also getting a little bit of carries in the backfield. I think this Falcons team is going to be kind of sneaky this year. And 17 and a half?
18.
18
is what I have.
18, yeah. I mean, I would probably roll with that as well. At an NFL game, you got 4 quarters to score some points. I think the Falcons will be able to put it together.
Yep, I just picked it up. 18 points. I'm taking the over at minus 110 odds right here.
You had me so thrown off for a second because you had said Sunday night, and I was like, Kenny is about to drop an absolute banger on us. Because before we get off NFL talk, we have to mention a couple of these games. I'm not going to worry too much about the early on games because I think we covered all of them in our betting things. One I have circled at least for the good games. Kansas City at Arizona. What an absolute banger for a 4:00 game. Obviously, we both stayed away from this game. Kyler Murray is a guy that I do not like to put bets against on earlier in the season. This is a guy. Arizona might start the season 8-0. Like. Arizona is a first half of the season unit. Obviously, D-Hop is suspended for the first 6 games with PED usage, but still don't sleep on this man. Kyler Murray can put up points fast on your team whenever he is hot. Kansas City is obviously an absolute amazing team. Patrick Mahomes is still the premier quarterback in the NFL. Josh Allen is a robot. I heard this somewhere. I don't remember where I heard it, but he is a robot sent from the future to stop Patrick Mahomes. That is his sole job in life, and he's good at it, but he ain't got no ring yet. So
he got to figure it out, but he's trying.
Yeah, he's still trying. Pat Mahomes is still that dude. Him and Brady are the 2 dudes in the NFL. Sorry, Aaron Rodgers. You're good. You win MVPs. Congratulations. You don't win rings like these 2 guys do. Matthew Stafford, you're in the game a little bit, but if your name's not Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, those are the 2 guys. I also want to mention the Los Angeles game. Another absolute banger of a game we're getting at 4:15. Can't wait for that one. Derek Carr, obviously, he has his old friend Devontae Adams back with him, coming from Green Bay. These 2 teams absolutely went crazy last year. I think these 2 teams I think Vegas surprised a lot of people with the whole Gruden deal that happened. And then all of a sudden they were a playoff team last year. And then you talk about the Chargers, man. The Chargers are my pick for that division, for that AFC West. I am really, really high on the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert is going to come out, and I have to look to see what his MVP odds are because I am very curious to see if he could put together another great season. This guy has all the arm talent in the world.
All right, and you're talking about banger matchups, and I teased it a little bit. Let's go ahead and talk about the Sunday night game because this is as good of a matchup you're going to get NFL Week 1, man.
It is amazing.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. The Bucs open up at a 2.5-point favorite. You get a -136 on the money line. The over/under set at 50.5. Let's go ahead and ring the bell, hit the buzzer again. I am placing another live bet as we speak because I just saw it come across. Tom Brady, over/under in passing yards, 274.5. Feed me.
Yeah, this is a game right here where I am going to stay away from everything spread and points wise. Now, player props. Obviously, me and Kenny are both guys that will look at a player prop. We'll see, oh, look, Scotty Miller over 12.5 receiving yards. Boom, we're on. So I'm sure we'll be putting a lot more money into these games coming up than what we're talking about right now. But you're completely right. This Tampa Bay Dallas game is going to be awesome. It's in Dallas. It's going to be a ton of fun. We're talking about two amazing offenses with two solid defenses. So it's definitely interesting to see what's going to happen. I think I did relook Chris Godwin stuff, or you might have said something about him. I think he is going to be full go this week. So that's another really, really big thing for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, he was cleared today, so that is big, big, big time. Julio just changed numbers from 85 to 6 because he says when you throw it to me, that's what you're getting.
Oh, that is awesome. Let's go. I did not see that, so thank you for letting me know that information. Let's go, Julio. I still love you, so, that's all that matters.
Yeah, Tom Brady, 274.5. I'll take that over all day long. Feed me that on a silver platter.
Thank you. You could have had him on fantasy, but you refused.
I'll make it happen. All right, that does it for my NFL games. That does it for everything NFL for me.
I am also out on it. Just everybody be excited. Football is back. We have NFL and college all weekend, going from Thursday to Monday, every week until December, January. So be ready, guys. We're in for a lot of fun coming up over the next weeks and months.
And that brings us right into it, man. College football headed into week 2. Let's go over some of our picks before we hop out of here and talk about what we're looking at in college for this week 2 line. I will go ahead and kick us off right here. I am pulling it up. I also have these in chronological order. Now, we don't have to be super sticklers about what we're going. I just try and keep my list as organized as possible.
I don't have them in chronological order because I am not going to pull up the full college schedule. I will do it. I will do the NFL for you, Kenny. I am not going to do college. So if mine are a little bit out of time slot order, I'll try. But if mine are a little bit out of time slot order, my apologies. I'm sorry about that.
Well, that's fine. We'll kick it off with Friday, and just because that's obviously one game. Friday, we get the Louisville Cardinals traveling down to Orlando to take on the UCF Knights. Central Florida is favored by 5.5 here. I am taking UCF -5.5, and I'm taking it for one reason. I have 3 asterisks right here on my list in all bold. Do not overthink this game. UCF looked good in week 1, and Louisville made Syracuse look like the 2007 New England Patriots. So I will take UCF -5.5.
You need to start sending me your notes, Kitty, because this is a game I sat here and looked at. I was like, I love this Louisville football team. Going into the year, I was high on this Louisville football team, and they lost me money last week. I was so pumped. We got them on a very favorable line last week against Syracuse. I don't remember the exact number, but I had a little bit of money in there on Louisville, and they played such a stinker. I don't have money on this game. I don't have any picks for this game, but there's only 2 Friday games, and I don't know if I'm going to be betting on the next one, so I will probably be betting the same bet you just made at the 5.5 with UCF. Louisville pissed me off, so screw you, Louisville. Bobby Petrino, you suck.
Yeah, get out of here. Yeah, that's the only Friday game I have, so we can head into Saturday if you're ready.
I am so ready for Saturday. I'm sorry, Boise State, New Mexico with the 17-point spread. I am off of you.
All right, well, look, not to jump you, Jake, but I'm itching to talk about this game, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. App State going down to Kyle Field to take on the Aggies. Boy, this is way too many points, guys. This is way too many points. I'm on App State plus 19.5 traveling to Kyle Field to take on the Aggies. I'm sure as soon as I pressed the button to lock this bet in, I just set it in stone that Texas A&M is going to win this game by 20 points. But 19.5, I'm on App State. A&M, I like A&M. I've said it so many times. I've got some ties there. I watched them play. I think they looked relatively good in week one, but they played a cupcake matchup, and we're not really sure how to judge a team like Sam Houston. App State is a team that looked very, very, very good against North Carolina, and North Carolina's not a good football team. I'm not saying that they looked good, I'm just saying objectively they looked good in that game. They scored a lot of points. Texas A&M obviously has a top-tier defense, but I feel like 19 points is just a ton of points to be anywhere near the spread of this game, so I'm on App State plus the 19.5 here.
I am not on App State, but I am going to follow suit in the same game. I am on the over 54 points for this game. I think Texas A&M against this App State defense could score 54 by themselves. But we talk about this Texas A&M defense. It is a good defense, but I do think App State is going to put up a competitive game. I would not be surprised if App State puts up 24 points by themselves. So I do think that there's going to be solid contribution from both sides. And that I figured this number would be sitting closer to 60 than 50, and I caught it at 54, so I am rolling with it.
Yeah, that's fair. I like the over there as well. And don't get me wrong, I think Texas A&M is very capable of blowing out a team like App State. But from what I'm basing what I saw in week one, I think it's moved down to 18.5 now, so maybe I called it at a good time. But I locked this in at 19.5 earlier this morning. So I want to ride with App State here. But A&M's definitely going to pull out the win unless something detrimental happens.
No, I agree. Do you want to go next, or do you want me to fly next?
Yeah.
Talk about North Carolina. This is what made me excited. I am rolling with North Carolina -7 at Georgia State for one reason. This offense can roll. Drake May is an absolute stud at quarterback. This man came in after Sam Howell left to the NFL, and so far in 2 games, this guy has put up numbers, dog. I don't expect it to quit continuing. Obviously, Georgia State's a team that played South Carolina pretty tough last week, I believe. And so they kind of make me a little nervous on that aspect. But I think this guy's going to continue putting up points. Last week, we look at it, he was 24 for 36 with 352 with 4 tuds. He also ran for 76 yards on a tud. So this guy right here is going to put up numbers against Georgia State.
Yeah, he literally looks like the reincarnation of Sam Howell.
Exactly. The guy is a baller.
All right, I don't have anything on that game, but I'll go into my next Saturday game. Guys, I want to preface this pick by saying I hope to God I lose my money on this pick. I want to lose so bad. But unfortunately, this is probably my most confident pick of the week, and it's Alabama -20 at Texas.
Yes. I'm not going to talk too much because I'm on it too with you.
Yeah, I mean Texas. We've seen all the hype about them. They didn't really move me from their week one performance, and Alabama just looked like Alabama. So I'm expecting this to be a blowout, and I think 20 points is just not enough. So I fully expect Alabama to cover the 20. If they don't cover, I pray Texas wins this game. If Texas won this game and I lost all my money, I would be so happy.
Yes, but I'm on the same boat.
I just don't think it's going to happen.
Like I said, I'm on the same boat. I'll lead us into another one, which is a lot less exciting, but it's one I am very, very confident again. This is UTSA at Army. I have the over 54.5 on this game. This is 2 teams that played last week. They both started off the season 0-1. Army lost to Coastal Carolina 38-28, and UTSA played a tough game against Houston. They lost in 3 overtimes, 37-35. Notables. UTSA gave up 346 yards. Army gave up 437. UTSA gave up 37 points. Army gave up 38. UTSA scored 35 points. Army scored 28. So these are 2 teams that, so far in this season, what we can tell, like to give up points. But let's not discount it at that. They also can score points. So I am very, very curious to see how this game goes. And like I said, I just feel like that number's too low. I am going to roll that over at 54.5.
Well, an interesting thing about that game last week between Army and Coastal that not a lot of people have talked about is the one thing about teams like Army that will get you is this triple option offense.
Yes.
It's so hard to scheme against, and Coastal had a full year to scheme against it and still gave up 28 points. So I'm with you 100%. I think the over is a lock there. I do not have that one written down in my bets, but I will be taking a look at that. That moves me into my next one. This is another one where I put asterisks, big bold letters. Do not overthink this game. I'm taking number 16 Arkansas minus 8.5 at home versus South Carolina. Arkansas looked very impressive to me against Cincinnati, and South Carolina looked like dog crap.
Yeah, I roll with you on this one, Kenny. Arkansas is one of the upper echelon teams in college football, and they will be until they prove me wrong. So I'm going to treat them like one. And whenever you can get them at minus 8.5 against the South Carolina team, like we had said, it looks terrible. I am going to take that same exact bet. I have it in my notes, and I like where the odds land.
I'll let you go into the next one.
My next one. I am sorry, Commodores. I am going Wake Forest minus 12 at Vanderbilt. Wake Forest, like we had mentioned yesterday, is getting Sam Hartman back at quarterback. Vanderbilt has been a team that has impressed so far, but I feel like in all around football, Wake Forest is a lot better football team, and the minus 12 number is a little bit too small for me. So I would not be surprised if Wake Forest beats them by more than 20. So again, I'm not going to overthink it and think that Vanderbilt's an amazing football team. I am just going to go with Wake Forest. Obviously, last week we look at Vanderbilt. I want to say they give up over 30 against Elon. So, I think Wake Forest is going to roll in this one.
Yeah, I'm on this game as well. I do not have. I'm not taking a winner in the game, but so this is a 100% total hype boy play for me here. Hand up. I am all over the over of 65.5. It's a lot of points, y'all. 65.5 is a lot of points, but let's talk about this. Number 23, Wake Forest at Vandy. Vandy's quarterback, Mike Wright, guy we've talked about here on the podcast. This man has contributed to 638 total yards of offense and an absurd 10 total touchdowns in 2 football games this year.
Heisman winner.
I mean, it's nuts. It's crazy. And that's just him by himself. Wake Forest also racked up over 500 yards of total offense last week without their starting quarterback, Sam Hartman, who, they activated him. I'm assuming he's going to be making their return this week. And both teams are just notorious for having no defense whatsoever. So 65.5. I mean, Wake Forest might score 65.5, and Mike Wright might score 65.5 by himself. So,
yeah, and another thing to note is that Mitch Griffiths, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. He did look good last week. I know they played VMI, so I mean, there's certain levels to this, but he looked comfortable in the offense. Obviously, they look pretty solid. So, I'm really looking. This is another game I think me and you both talked about yesterday as a game we're looking forward to watching. I want to say this is the SEC Network game at 12 o'clock, so it will be on both of our TVs. So we're pumped for that.
All right, that moves me into my next one. I have Missouri at plus 7.5 at Kansas State. This is just too many points for me. I was very, very impressed with Missouri in week 1. I talked about it last night on my SEC list. And obviously they're an SEC team. So I think there's a little bit of a gap there with Kansas State. And a team like Kansas State just, I mean, I get there's been some hype around this team, but 7.5 points against Missouri, based on what I've seen, I just think it's too much. I also have a money line ticket on this game as well. I'm taking a flyer with Missouri.
Yeah, I'm on Missouri as well. I don't have that one actually listed on my thing, but that is definitely one that I looked at, and I was definitely really curious about. I do think that they are a better football team than what I was kind of expecting from what I saw so far. Obviously, things can change, but again, I feel like that line's a little bit low for Kansas State, so I'm probably going to roll with Missouri too. My next game is, I know they lost me money last week. Screw you, Indiana, but I'm rolling with Illinois minus 4.5 versus Virginia. I'm sticking on my Illinois hype train. Actually, I am so wrong. Illinois won me money, I believe. What was the Illinois line?
I think they covered.
Am I thinking about the wrong game? Hold up. Sorry, podcast listeners. I am actively looking up stuff. My fingers are typing as fast as I can. Yes, they were plus 3.5 and they covered. It was they lost by 3. I want to say is what happened.
I thought you were saying you had a money line.
I might have had a money line. I
can't remember. I had them. I had them covering, and they did cover for me. If you had it, then you definitely won money.
I had Illinois. No, that's right. By the time I had picked them, um, they were a pick 'em. I waited
Oh,
till day of, and they got down to a pick 'em. That's what happened.
that
So yeah,
sucks.
Illinois lost me money, but I am very confident against them against this Virginia team. I think so far this season, Illinois has impressed me as a football team. They have played better ball than I had thought they would. So I'm gonna roll with Illinois -4.5 versus Virginia at home.
All right, headed into my next game. This is another one in bold asterisks, in bold letters. I've got love this pick right here. I've got Penn State at home versus Ohio. The over of 54 in this game. I think 54 is absurdly low. Penn State 304 yards passing last week with 4 touchdowns versus a much better Purdue defense. Ohio 345 yards passing with 4 touchdowns while also allowing 364 passing yards and 5 touchdowns versus FAU. So 54. I think this is way. I think this is way low. So I am hammering the over here.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I'd also take a little peek at the spread. I know 25.5 is a lot of points, but this Penn State team is a team that could easily just blow out this Ohio team. So that's something else I'm going to also take a little peek at. 25.5 is not much in the college football world whenever you're talking about a notable team playing a pretty trash team. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on that game for sure. Well, I'll go into the next one, and this is going to be one that I'm pretty sure you are also on. Iowa State +3.5 at Iowa. Iowa's offense is the worst in college football. So if I
Yeah.
can get a notable team as underdogs at +3.5, give it to me all day long. I am really excited about this pick.
Yeah, this is another asterisk one for me. Love this pick a ton. I'm on Iowa State very, very heavy, without a doubt. Spencer Petrus, I don't even care to understand how it's pronounced. He might be the worst football player I've ever seen in my entire life. And I will be fading this Iowa team as long as he's a starter.
How was this Iowa team in the top 10 last year?
No
This
clue, man. No clue.
and everybody was so high on them, and then we saw them play, and we're like, okay, never mind. This Iowa team is not very good. They have a good defense. I will give Iowa that. Iowa does have a solid defense, but you got to score more than 7. And let's just say 4 of those points came off of safety. So you got to score more than 3 on offense against what was it, like a Western Kentucky team or something like that. It was they weren't what FCS, isn't that the other thing, or is it FBS? I know one of them's
Yeah.
yeah, so you got to do a little bit better. I know that's one of the better teams in their little area of college football, but come on, man, you are Iowa. You need to be putting up more than that, and they did it. So Iowa State +3.5. I love it.
I want to say Iowa was the first team in like 15 years to score exactly 7 points without a touchdown.
I'd believe it. I feel like that's a very rare occurrence. I don't think there's another way you can do that other than how they did it. I mean, I guess you could return a blocked uh PAT or like that, but I feel like that's a new rule, right? I don't think that was a thing in recent years. I don't think that you got 2 points off of that in the past. I think you just got 1.
Yeah,
So
I think you're right there. All right, that takes me into my next game. This is a 7 p.m. Eastern kickoff SEC matchup. Number 20 Kentucky traveling down to the swamp to take on the newly ranked number 12 Florida. Florida is a 6.5 point favorite here. I'm on Kentucky plus the 6.5.
I'm also on Kentucky +6.5. I am also on the under of 52.5. I feel like that's a lot of points in this matchup. Florida's offense, outside of Anthony Richardson just running the ball all over Utah last week, they did not do much through the air. And Kentucky is going to be a tough team to do what they did last week against. And obviously, we look at Kentucky's offense. Kentucky's offense has never really been a super high powered offense. So I'm curious to see how this game rolls out. I'm pretty confident the 52.5. So that I'm gonna roll with it. Obviously, this is one of those games I want to have money on because I want to have some type of impact because this is a must watch for SEC fans.
All right, how many more picks you got in college?
4.
All right. Well, I only have one more. So why don't you go ahead and rip off a couple?
I have USC -9 at Stanford. This is one that I had sat back and looked at a little bit because this Stanford team is pretty tough. Don't get me wrong. Stanford usually runs on a pretty good football team, but I'm gonna roll with my USC hype train that me and Kenny have both been on, and I'm expecting them to go out and dominate Stanford. So I'm rolling with that. I also have Oklahoma State -11 versus Arizona State. Obviously, we talk about Arizona State. Arizona State's not a very good football team. Oklahoma State's a decent football team. I like the minus number right there, especially -11 number right there, especially at home. Do you want me to do two more, or you want me to do one more and then we just do 1-1, or how do you want to do this, Kenny?
I think we might be on my last one together, so I don't know if I'm hinting at that one at all. But
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and knock out. I'll go ahead and knock out one. I know what your last one is now. I
Okay.
already know. I'm on Boston College +2.5 at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech looked terrible, and Boston College as a team, they didn't look too great. But I am pretty high on Boston College as a whole, so I'm going to hope that they can go in week 2 and clean things up. I don't think this Virginia Tech team has any hope of doing anything dramatic in the college football world. So I'm on Boston College +2.5.
They got a good quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback can absolute ball, and that's the main reason that I had went that route with Boston College. I feel like that Virginia Tech is a team that can get played out of the water if you start to put up some points on them.
All right, last pick here.
Last pick right here, and I'll let you read it off. I am 99 point. I'm the same percentage chance that Georgia is to beat Samford this weekend, and it is set at 99.9% ESPN. So let's hope that there's a 0.1% chance that we are wrong and that Georgia loses.
This is number 9 Baylor taking on number 21 ranked BYU. Y'all, I don't know what is going on here, but BYU is a 3.5 point favorite. Now, this is of no disrespect to BYU because I think BYU is a good football team. I like this team a lot. But when I personally watch Baylor play, I see a top 7-8 team in college football. And BYU should not be favored in this game, in my opinion. I was 100% shocked when I saw this line and took it without even blinking. If Baylor loses this game, slap me across my face and don't ever let me bet on another college football game again. Number 9 Baylor, money line.
I am on it as well, Kenny. We were right. We are on the same bet. And like you said, this is no disrespect to BYU. I want to say that me and Kenny are. I'm not going to talk for you, Kenny, but I like BYU. I remember last year whenever week 1 of college football. Whenever week 1 of college football came around and we were watching some football, and then all of a sudden the 10 o'clock games rolled around and we caught ourselves watching a BYU game until like 12:30 in the morning. So that kind of gave me a little bit more of a like for BYU than what I enjoyed in the past. But yeah, you're right. Baylor's just too good of a team to be at this number. I also got them at money line. I got them at +135. I'm really excited about that pick. I'd love to see it. And we talk about Baylor. To me, is just an all around better football team. Like we mentioned, BYU is still a good team, but I like my odds taking Baylor.
Let's see what my odds were on the money line. I don't remember. I didn't have them written down. Let me look here. I got Baylor money line +136.
Oh, you got better odds than me by 1.
By 1, okay.
By 1.
Yep, that does it for me for my picks.
That is also it for me with my picks as well, Kenny.
All right, well.
Is that a wrap up? Is it time for a wrap up?
That's it for me. I don't have anything else. You got any final notes before we head out of here?
I don't have any final notes besides like what I said earlier. People enjoy football this weekend. It is the first full weekend of college football and NFL football. I know college football covered us the whole weekend last weekend because it was their only weekend they could enjoy without having the NFL breathing on their necks. But this weekend's a little bit different. It's going to be an absolutely loaded Saturday. It's going to be an absolutely loaded Sunday. We have been so blessed so far with the matchups we got to see in both college football and the NFL. So, I know Kenny and I are very excited. We're going to be keeping our eyes glued to the TV this weekend for all these games, and I hope y'all do the same. And this time of year is rolling around. We ain't quite got that crisp breeze out in Georgia yet, but I think the high tomorrow is 82, and then the high on Saturday is like 72. So it's coming quick, guys. So just lock
Slowly
in,
but surely,
and enjoy y'all ball is all I can say for you.
Yeah, I mean, football season's in full effect. College football kicked off last week, obviously, but with NFL coming in on Thursday, we got Braves, we got NFL, we got college sports. It's a great time to be a sports fan. So I know we're excited to get on here and talk with y'all and give you some insight. And like we say every episode, man, check us out on all the socials. You see us right here on Twitter at Peach State Pod. Get on there, give us a follow, check us out. We try and post, get some content out there, interact with us, let us know what you think. If you have anything you want to do some debating, if you want to agree with us, hop on there, just get some dogs talk and kind of see what y'all think. Check us out on TikTok. Check us out on the YouTube at Peach State Tailgate, where we do the live streams every time we record. And obviously, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts, you can listen to the shows there.
Yeah, I think that was a great wrap up, Kenny. I want to do my part and say thank you as well. Kenny did all the socials and stuff, so we're clear on that aspect. Just thank y'all so much, and we will catch you guys next week. It's going to be a fun weekend. We're gonna have a ton of stuff to talk about, and it is time for ball.